If only he knew what was buried in the backyard. Once upon a time, in a town called Amado, lived a man named Adesa. Adesa is a farmer who had always loved the garden in his family house land. It was where he felt most at peace, tending to the soil, planting flowers, and watching life bloom from the earth. He lives in a house that was passed down from generation to generation by his family. His forefathers lived there and passed on, and now he lives in it also with his beautiful wife, Salma, and their two young daughters, Amiko and Omar. They lived happily together, even despite the constant humiliation and embarrassment he gets from the villagers, because he was poor and couldn't afford much of a thing. Adesa always is a man that prioritizes his family above all. The only property he owns is the family house with the garden land at the backyard of the house. He has been felling ever since he started his farm business. He is a farmer who farms in people's land, and they pay him for his work, services done. But it wasn't enough to feed his wife and two children. He started to sell the crops he was able to harvest in his own garden as well, but no one seemed to be interested in buying from him. He felt cursed. Life hit him so hard that he started doubting himself if he actually is doing the right thing. He looked up to the gods to help him and find a way for him to escape the poverty of his life. One day, Omar, his youngest daughter, fell sick. So sick she was taken to the hospital to be treated. But there was no money to pay off the bills. Frustrated and confused after asking for help from some of his friends, no one was capable of helping him out in his desperate situation. Adesa had no other choice. He decided to use his family house as a collateral to get some money to save his daughter's life, whom he loves so much and won't trade for anything else. After the treatment, Omar regained herself and was okay, but due to the choice Adesa made, it puts him on the verge of losing it all. Adesa's wife, Salma, tried her best with her business, even though it doesn't give out much, but she always tries to be a supportive wife in many ways possible. Salma is a hairdresser who goes to people's home to fix their hairs as a services from home for women, and they pays her for her service she renders. She does not have a shop, but she is a skillful woman and a loving wife. She would always sit with her husband and comfort him, telling him that everything will be all right in no time. Adesa knew that if he doesn't do anything about the collateral he took with his house or pay back the money, that he would lose everything he ever had. In deep thoughts and in tears, he decided to pick himself up and ask for help from an old friend, Ayo. Ayo is a good businessman, rich and can afford things he needs. He owns a lot of properties in the town and has the support of the people. Ayo is also a childhood buddy of Adesa, but was always a person who likes to boast about how rich he is. Adesa had no other choice but to swallow his pride and ask Ayo for help. But Ayo laughed and scolded him for not being capable of providing for his family, and it was not his fault that he has a poor mentality. Adesa was embarrassed, but he never wavered. Ayo gave him a fair deal to take the only thing he ever owned, which is his house, and also in exchange give him enough money to start up a good business. Adesa was tempted, but he thought of where will his family live if he sell his only house just to settle his bills. And as the matter of fact, that house has been in the family for ages, and it will be a disgrace for him to sell it. His father and his generation will not be happy with him if he does such a thing without at least trying so hard. Adesa thought, but all his plea for help from Ayo, he never cared for once to help him, if not to take what matters to Adesa. That same proposal was made to Adesa's father by Ayo's father years ago too, but Adesa's father refused to sell the house and the land to him. Adesa went home and thought about all he discussed with Ayo as his dear wife joined him. His wife also encouraged him and also told him not to sell the house, that this is all he has. But, as a man, Adesa has almost gotten to peak at which he couldn't handle again. One evening, Adessa sat at the bench outside his house as he watches his two children play, and with all happiness in their eyes, he comforted himself as he believed that everything will be all right. It's already night. He took them inside. As he was about to enter the house, he heard a sound that made him turn around, looked at the garden again and again, but never found anything. He went inside like nothing happened. The next day he decided to cut some flowers and trim the branches of some fruit he cultivated in the garden. As he was in the middle of the work, the sound he heard last night came again. Adessa was confused as he asked himself, what could possibly be this sound he heard in two different times? He thought, but again he perked it as nothing serious and continued with his work. After he was done and about to leave, he felt a presence that swept across him and all his childhood that he had lived in that house. He had never felt such a presence. He immediately left the garden. That night in bed, he asked his wife, out of curiosity, "Have you ever heard any strange sounds before in the garden ever since we lived together?" "No, I haven't," Salma replied. Adessa couldn't shake the feeling, but he decided to discard the thoughts of hearing the strange sounds again. He avoided the garden for a while until one day at night. Adessa sitting at the backyard corridor of his house, looking towards the garden, he started to see things out of order. He was shocked as he went close to the big tree in the garden land. Near the tree was a hole so deep that it felt like it's an ever-ending hole. Nothing felt close to seeing what did it or what is in the hole. Adessa thought why the hole would be there, and out of curiosity he started digging and digging to find out what was inside there. Upon digging, he got to the solid ground where he couldn't break through anymore. In a moment, he saw a glowing and shining light through the hole. Adessa felt afraid and a little bit strange what that might be, but out of curiosity, he stretched his hand down the hole and brought out something. And to Adessa's greatest surprise, lo and behold, he brought out a like solid rock, which turns out to be very much a gold stone. He couldn't believe what he was seeing with his own two eyes, a gold buried to God knows how long it has been down there, and now it decided to show up in the middle of his crisis. His ancestors and the gods are sure watching over him. In a happy tone, he called on his wife that night. Salma came out to the garden land. He showed his wife the gold. "See what the land has blessed us with." Adessa said. Salma was very happy to see his husband smile once again in a long time, and also happy that they saw something as more valuable in their land, to sell and make much more money to cater for the family till generations to come, as fortune as smile upon their family. The next day, without much time to waste, Adessa took the gold to the city, to a friend who can help him sell the gold in exchange for money. Mr. Femi is an old friend of Adessa who deals in rare stones, sells necklaces and other accessories to people. Adessa visited him and handed the gold to him. Femi was surprised that Adessa found gold just at the backyard of his house, and this could benefit both of them. Femi agreed to help him find a buyer who will pay more and handsomely for the gold. In the next 3 days' time, Femi found a buyer. They all sat and made deal with the buyer who later bought it with a huge amount of money. Adessa was shocked as he saw how much the mere gold he found in his land gave him. At least with that money he is made for life. Femi took his share and the rest Adessa took and headed home. He celebrated with his family, bought new cloths and things for them while coming back. From that day, Adessa lived a fulfilled life. He paid off the money he borrowed from a moneylender that he used his house as a collateral to get. He set up his wife's shop where she makes hairs for women. He enrolled his 2 daughters into a good school, bought a big plantation land, and built up the family house. People were baffled and surprised at the instant growth of how rich Adessa became. All of a sudden, rumors went around the village that he might have joined a secret occult. Some said he was blessed by the gods, but the truth of it all was his family's encouragement, love, kindness, and the blessings he received from his ancestors who had been his guardians all this time. He later owned one of the biggest farmland in Amato town, to the point Io started to jealous him for his instant wealth. He thought that Adessa won't amount to anything, but the thing is that blessings doesn't come from the hands of a human being, but from the higher powers who protects us and gives us the grace when the time is right. And so Adessa lived happily with his family. He never experienced poverty ever again. He was able to afford every single thing his family needs and wants. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing content. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.